In this video, we're going to be continuing working with literal equations in Graspable Math. So let's go ahead and head over to Graspable Math and tackle some problems. So I'm over here in Graspable Math and I'm looking at some equations. And you can notice in these equations, there are no numbers. So we are going to work with solving these equations, even though there are no numbers. Now here's how we're going to do this. So for these four problems, we're going to work on solving for x. That's ultimately our goal. And how we're going to do this is we're going to solve like we would if there were numbers. So think of A, B, and C as constants. Think of them as numbers. They have the same property as numbers. They just represent an unknown. So we're going to solve this like we would anything else. So if I want to isolate the B or the X, I want to first get rid of this plus C. So if this were a plus 2, how would I get rid of a plus 2? Well, I would subtract it. So I'm going to grab this C, and I'm going to bring it over, and it becomes A minus C. And when I try to combine like terms, notice these won't combine because one's an A, one's a C. They're not like terms. Next, I want to get rid of this B. So it's B times X. So to undo times B, I'm going to divide by B. And I've solved. Let me show my steps. So I've solved. I've divided by B, and I'm done. That's it. A minus C over B equals X. Let's try this question. So for this one, again, I want to try and get X by itself. So I'm going to start by getting rid of this B over here. Now, since this is a positive B, I'm going to start by subtracting it. So bring it over, and I'm subtracting B. Next, I need to get rid of this times negative B. So how do we undo times negative B? We divide by negative. And that's it. We have X completely by itself. So I have X equals this expression. So what I want you to do, I want you to pause the video and try this question on the left, and I will go over it in just a moment. All right, let's give this a shot. So here I have Q minus PX equals DT. Now we're going to treat all of these that are not X like numbers. So I'm going to start by getting rid of this Q. So I'm going to take this Q and I'm going to subtract it from both sides. Great. Now I want to undo times negative P. So to undo times negative P, we divide everything. And notice how everything on this side is divided by negative P, not just one term. So I'm dividing both sides by negative P. And that's it. I'm done. Now, try this next one. I want you to pause the video, and I'll go over it here in just a moment. All right, let's go for it. We need to first get rid of this plus m. So I'm going to bring it over and subtract m from both sides. And remember, these don't combine. They're not the same variable. Next, I want to get rid of this d. So to undo times d, we're going to divide everything by d. Notice it's not just one term. We divide everything. And that's it. I have x by itself. So let's move on to some more challenging problems. So what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to look for solving for A. Now, this is a little more complex than ones we just solved. So I'm going to have to think about what to do with these giant parentheses. And I have multiple A's. So that tells me I'm probably going to have to combine like terms at some point. So let's start by distributing here. Since I have these giant parentheses, I have the 2 up front, let's go ahead and distribute. I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to distribute it on the inside. Now, if you remember with Graspable Math, one of the odd things is that you have to distribute the 2 first and then distribute the negative. If we were doing this by hand, we would multiply by negative 2 and save us a little bit of work. So I've already gone ahead and I've distributed my negative 2. Next, I see here that I have multiple A's. And if my goal is to get A by itself, I'm going to have to combine these. So let's combine these two, and I get 2A. Now the rest looks very similar to what we just did. So I need to get rid of this 2C. So to undo a minus 2C, I'm going to add it. So this is where I'm going to click and hold, press the space bar, and then bring it to the other side. I'm going to add 2C to both sides. Then to wrap it up, I'm going to get rid of this 2, divide both sides by 2, and I'm all done. I've got A equals 9B plus 2C over 2. Now let's try this one. So I want you to give it a shot, pause the video, solve for A, and I'll go over it here in just a moment. All right, let's give this a go. So this is like one of those problems that we covered earlier with solving equations, and that we're going to have to break the rules a little bit, and we're going to have to start by undoing this giant division bar. So I'm going to start by multiplying by c, because if I multiply, it's going to get rid of that giant division bar. So let's multiply that. Let's see, is that going to combine? There we go. Let's combine this. So c times c gives us c squared. Next, I want to get rid of this minus 2b. So to get rid of minus 2b, we're going to add it to both sides. So I'm going to click and hold, press the space bar, and bring it to the other side. Okay, and I can't combine those because this is c squared and that's b, so if that doesn't work. So lastly, I need to get rid of this 3. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Notice how every single term here is divided by 3, not just the first one. And there we have it. We have a isolated by itself. Let's do one more. This one is particularly challenging. I want you to solve for t. So pause the video, see if you can do this. It's a little tricky. So let's get to it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get this t out of the parentheses. So I'm going to use the distributive property. So I'm going to take this 1/2 and I'm going to distribute. So let's see what I get. I get 2 over 2, 9/2. And well, we know 2 over 2 is just 1, so 1t. And 9 over 2, we'll just leave that as a fraction. We can put it as 4.5 if we want. So if we wanted to double click and make it 4.5, we could, but that's not a big deal. Let's see. Next, I want to, let's group my t's on the same side. I'm going to move this 1t to the other side. I'm going to click space bar, and I'm going to bring it over, subtracting it from both sides since it's positive. Now I'm doing that because that way I'm grouping my t's together. So that gives me a 7t. Next, I need to move this 10y. So to do that, I'm going to click and hold. That's the space bar. And then bring it over. So it'll be a minus 10y. Now the only thing left to do is to get rid of the 7. So I'm going to divide by 7. And we're good to go. Now this is a little messy. Isn't really officially what we would like, but sometimes things come out messy in that. Okay. So there we have it. Oh, we got some more steps. Quite a few steps. Keep going. All right. So there we go. There's all our steps. So for that problem, it looks like there's a lot. There really weren't that many, but there's quite a few. That's how we do it. That's how we solve literal equations when we have less numbers.